Well, ar an gédalse tá áthas ar an héin is ar me fan céile is na daine tá teastal am bhain seo gorca gur sa gohorathe ag ócáid ciúrach mar seo agus muid ag ciúra an gáscór bhríonna tá buintteach ag an Irish Guide Dogs. So gur an míle maithagé asach an fíorcinn fóilte a dar sibrúm héin is raibh me fan céile. I must say what a great pleasure it is to have the opportunity to visit the Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind National Headquarters and Training Centre, and I'm very pleased to have seen the preparation, that most important relationship between dogs and human beings, particularly human beings with a particular need, and also dogs that they're of extraordinary patience and intelligence. I should say I bring all these dogs greetings from my own two, Shadow and Broad, because I have been a dog person for near all my life, and we should always be flattered, all of us, that dogs chose the human species as a good bet when they decided that there were ecological changes taking place on the planet. And that's how it is. And more recently I was looking at new research that, of course, that dogs are quite like ourselves in relation to right brain, left brain communication and decisions. They would know like a shot if you're not sincere in relation to the language you're addressing towards them. But I have to say as well, before I get to it, I'm so privileged to meet see so many people here, and to see so many people who are giving of their lives for this important work. It's hard to believe that such a valuable exercise as I have just seen, and so many of you gathered here, and so many of you who have dogs, and those of you who are in supporting Irish Guide Dogs, that all this effort didn't exist 40 years ago, that it came into existence just 40 years ago. So it's most appropriate that you can look back, as I buried that time capsule, you can bury an awful lot of pride in it and what has been achieved over the last 4 decades. And yes, I remember very, very well reading about it and encountering them before. Mary Dunlop and her co-founder Jim Dennehy. What an extraordinary contribution to make to Irish life. So we'll have another bowl of us just as I go along. And then it's just over a decade ago since you launched the extension of your work in 2005, the Assistance Dog Programme to assist children living with autism. And that's a fascinating, wonderful, successful extension and innovation. And those who have looked at it and those who understand the relationship between humans and canines will know what an extraordinary, enriching experience it is. So today your project statement is to create a future where persons who are blind, vision impaired and disabled achieve independence and dignity through our world-class dog and ancillary services. I think the important thing is not only that you came into existence and have made this contribution for 4 decades, for 40 years, but it is that it has impacted so positively on thousands of Irish citizens. When I was preparing my remarks for my visit down to Cork, I had a look at your website, and your website is full of what can only be described as testaments to the legacy that those who in fact brought the Irish Guide Dogs into existence. Olive Cummins, who lost her sight due to macular degeneration disease, adjusting to a life with loss of vision, and she speaks of the acquisition of her dog Eve had given her life back. And the demonstration that I have just seen about engaging with obstacles, the phrase used was that it had given freedom back. I think that to Joe Bollard as well, and his dog Adam, the arrival of Adam into Joe Bollard's life was that life has gone from okay to incredible. Again, in relation to their young son, Adam, Brian and Caroline Galvin, described the effect that their dog Nikita had on restoring peace and security to the Galvin family. All those stories, and there are a myriad of such stories, are all testaments to what has been achieved and the enormous difference it made. I think as well, what is important is this. I think that there's more to it than just the dog saving people from hitting obstacles. There is a relationship between this four-legged companion and the person that is almost very hard to describe. It's one of great understanding. Those dog companions, in fact, understand a very, very great deal. That's why they are able to bring such calmness into the lives of children. And also, as well as this, the practical side of being able to move around. I know, as somebody who was a university teacher, the way that it has enabled some people to actually move through the educational system. It has enabled other people to engage in the workplace. It has enabled other people, because the bonds of neighbourhood and community are very important, to be able to make significant visits and retain their participation in life. All of the transformations that has been made possible over the last 40 years as a result, not just of the people who have been the founders, but I have to say, it is always a pleasure for me to pay tribute to one of the greatest contributors to the beautiful game, Roy Keane. But he has been such a solid contributor to the project of Irish Guide Dogs. And I think that that's something extraordinary, because he's not only doing it for the association, he's such a powerful example for a person who is a star in his own right, always was, is and remains, but in fact is giving generously to this great cause. I've also, I must say, as well as this, I'm entirely with him in those interviews he's giving about his dog and speaking for his dog. I'm occasionally forced to do so myself, but mine, in fact, actually, the Áras couldn't reward them sufficiently for the amount of work that they do. They're worn out today now looking after Culture Night, because they have 180 people to look after. I think that what is very important is for us to realise as well the responsibility of all of this. There are about 250,000 people who are suffering from visual impairment, and the Irish Guide Dogs Association are doing all of what they're doing, relying on 80% of their income from fundraising and from voluntary contributions. And the voluntary contributions to the Irish Guide Dogs, I hope the public will notice this in many cases, is not only volunteering in terms of raising money, but also volunteering very valuable services and skills that enable, in fact, all of what I have been describing to come into being. And those generous volunteers of the country, they are giving something that is maybe the most precious resource for many of them. They're giving time. And they're giving what is in fact actually a very rare commodity sometimes in Ireland, and that is patience. Because preparing for the relationship between the dog and the recipient is something that takes time. I think that as well, those of you who are raising funds is never easy. And that's why, when I say people like Roy and others, the fact that they're breaking ground in relation to that is so important. May it continue and multiply. I think that 14 years Roy has been helping you out of that 40. But I think so many people, I think what is important in all of this is 40 years ago, the idea was being turned into a reality. And today, to think that there is the training centre where we are, with all its facilities that are operating to standards of excellence, with plans to expand for decades to come, and to be able to increase what is being provided while reducing the amount of waiting time and increasing the time of preparation, all of that is so very, very important. I think as well, the residential nature of the courses provides opportunities to share experience And something that's very present, I wish, I'm always stuck for time, but all of you here, that you're able to have time with each other and to share your experiences, which is very, very important. And is particularly important for people who have a visual impairment. An tain rud atá an géitar sias trú Robert Dígrasach, tá faoin viní agus anachas múscar deag bhí meas séránach go bhfuil faoi mí commas, anas go méis siad an dularaig saoil mar réon le gach séir nach eile. Agus tá áthas arm gach rágus bannach tá gcuirid an táchaí, das na blianta atá le tíart. Tá and méid atá dean buint amach aga, tá sé há cín, ach ar aon rud eile, tá sé an mar eisimpla das na glúnta atá le tíart. It is through your hard work, you have in fact helped to instill in many citizens living with disabilities the expectation that they can succeed, that they can aspire to live the life of their choice, have their voices heard, have their participation enhanced, have their talents respected, be defined by their skills and ability. And go to it will come match it anon, Dalivaima na Fétrach Tigalera town. In other words, engage with all of their facilities. So may I want to simply thank all the staff and volunteers for those 4 decades. I thank the founders. I thank everyone who has come forward and been of assistance. And I thank those who are assisting today and all those who will come and volunteer and those who will contribute. And I contribute those public figures as well who are giving a lead in all of this. And I want to wish you every success in your important work. Garamila Mahaki. Thank you.